Welcome back to another edition of the KC Laboratory, brought to you by our partners in Possible Emprise Bank, member FDIC. And today, I am not Kent Swanson, I am Maddie Lane, joined by Craig Stout, but we are going to rank our top 10 tight ends in the NFL, 10 through 1, and we are going to yell at each other to see who was correct. Before that, we will obviously go back to the 2024 season and talk about lessons learned from the Chiefs' Week 14 defensive stomping of the Cleveland Browns. And I guess at this point in time, Craig, how are you doing today? One, I love the mustache. I love the shirt. It's a vibe altogether. You are looking like Andy Reid back in like the 30s when you guys were both born. And I think you're doing great.
Hey, thanks, buddy. If only I had the wildly successful football coaching career that Andy Reid has had. Unfortunately, I am here speaking to you. No, that's bad. I don't want to do that. I love talking to you. I love being here. Our good pal Kent is I guess I showed up, I made him cry, and now he just ran away. Like he doesn't want anything to do with me anymore, man.
You thought those were tears of joy. I think those were sad tears of sadness. He just didn't want to hang out with you. He was so upset that you were coming back. He just started weeping uncontrollably, and now he has started coming up with fake vacations every Wednesday. Vacations.
Yeah, he said something about being somewhere else tonight. I don't believe him for a second. He was sending pictures of gas stations. This man is obsessed. You know, I know
big gas
we're trying to lay this all at your feet, Maddie, that you are the arbiter of the gas station scale and everything like that. It's not true.
He got boots on the ground.
Relentless. Yes.
He's researching.
Like, oh, what do you think about this gas station? Looks pretty clean.
He's got a clipboard and one of those leather folding portfolios, and he's just going gas station to gas station across the Midwest.
Yeah. No, he's obsessed now. He's absolutely obsessed and ducking me, and we miss him terribly.
Unbelievable. Well, debatable in that last part. Kent is on a fake vacation. Hey, speaking of vacations, we got the KCSN annual golf tournament coming up. And if you want to sign up, you want to get all your details, you can go to givebutter.com/KCSN golf to get your team registered or get yourself registered there. All the information can be found there, but it is coming up. It is on a Monday. It is going to be August 18th this year, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So again, you can go to givebutter.com/KCSN golf and get all the information you need there. I mean, I know now is when we're supposed to jump in to the show, but people got really mad on Monday for Kent and I talking about steakhouses for a while. So I wanted to ask your opinion on that because, you know, people enjoyed it so much. Do you consider national chains like an Outback, Roadhouse, Longhorn, do you consider those steakhouses?
This is what you guys do when I'm not here?
Like, do you consider them mid-level steakhouses?
No. They're like, I don't. They're like chain restaurants. They're just chain restaurants. That's what I consider them.
My theory was if I can order chicken fingers off the menu, it's not a steakhouse.
Is Chili's Tex-Mex or is it a chain restaurant? This is no slight against Chili's. I want to make it abundantly clear that
I'm sliding Chili's.
Oh, that's fine. I'm not talking trash about any of these restaurants here. I'm just saying they're chain restaurants. I don't consider them. That's how I lump them in.
I would agree. We won't spend 10 minutes on this again, because some people liked it, some people didn't. Last time, real quick, last question though, before we get into the real football stuff. How do you think Kent orders his steak?
Knowing how he orders his barbecue, he orders the fried chicken and claims that it's the best thing on the menu. He doesn't actually order a steak.
That's a fair point. Well, no, but this isn't a mid-level chain restaurant. This isn't an actual steakhouse.
Oh, okay. Chicken tenders then. Like you mentioned already, it's just chicken tenders. It's not actual fried chicken. It's chicken.
Man, no. No, it's good. We don't even, you know what? If you want to figure out how Kent orders his steak and what cut of meat he wants and how he likes to cook, you got to go back and listen to Monday's KC Laboratory. And then you can also figure out how we ranked our top 10 quarterbacks in that game. But all right, it's time. It's here. We are going into week 15, not week 14. I was made to look a fool by my producer. Tucker pulled one over on me. He had a birthday goes by, and he said, let me start being a little prankster to Maddie live on air. That was his goal. That was what he wanted to do this year of his life. So it's unfortunate. Week 15 against the Cleveland Browns. The Chiefs won, I believe it was 21-7. What did you think of this game, Craig?
When you tune into a Jameis Winston game, you're never exactly sure how it's going to go. Could go
be fun
directions. Could be fun. Could be a 500 touchdown, 5 TD game. There also might be 4 interceptions in that game. This was the polar opposite of that. This is the valley of the Jameis Winston roller coaster. Even before we get into all the interceptions that happened in this game, Jameis Winston's pocket presence was terrible. It was awful. George Karlaftis had a really good game in this one. I was very impressed by how he turned himself, acquitted himself. Charles Omenihu also had a good game, had a strip sack of Jameis Winston. They recovered, but Jameis Winston was holding that thing like a lab technician, like holding radioactive material. Like it was out, like fully away from his body. Like he wanted nothing to do with the football.
There was a crab leg joke in there, and you just...
Oh, you're right. There was a crab leg joke there.
Okay.
As I'm watching this game, you just one of those that Jameis Winston was not the answer for the Cleveland Browns. And frankly, none of their quarterbacks were last year. And, well, I'm looking at the roster this year, and, well, it just was a really, really bad performance that was elevated by the fact that the Chiefs defense was playing late in the season. This was one of those games that they're using to ramp up, that they're trying to get themselves into playoff form, and it showed. They were so dominant. The defensive line had 5 sacks. That was a major performance from the defensive line. There were 4 interceptions in this game. 3 of them were on Jameis Winston. I had completely forgotten about the Nick Bolton interception that was a catch by Ford that he kind of popped up in the air, and Nick Bolton just, was Johnny on the spot, came down with it. But Trent McDuffie had a great interception. Brian Cook had a great interception. Jaden Hicks had a great interception. It was just a very, very dominant defensive performance. And as I was watching this game, I just kept looking at the score and going, I didn't remember the final score, before the rewatch. I'm kind of trying to go into these without trying to remember what's what. I go in blind. Kept looking at this going, wow, this was a blowout at the end of the year. I didn't remember this being a blowout, and it ends 21-7. And I mean, I don't know. This was far more of a dominant performance, especially on the defensive side of the ball, than 21-7 looked, Maddie.
Yeah, the game never felt as close as 21 as the scoreboard looked the entire time, but also going back and rewatching it after bouncing around the year and getting a little bit more of a mixed bag. Like, we just came off of watching the Froggles game where the offense did show some flashes. It wasn't great, but there was some flashes. And earlier we had watched the Bills playoff game, like bouncing around like this game was a pretty stark step back in terms of the offensive play. Like the offense really struggled in this game, and they couldn't really capitalize on what was, maybe the defense's best performance all year. Like it was absolutely dominant. It was elite. It was an outstanding performance. And yes, Jameis and company helped them along in the process. But when a defense plays this good, like Chiefs teams of the past are up 30-0 at halftime and coasted out the second half, right? And like that's what was missing this year is this offense couldn't even capitalize on turnovers, field position, momentum, anything. And so like I think that kind of stuck out to me watching it was like, okay, yes, there's been plenty of games this year where we've noted, hey, that game was a warning sign of things to come. That game was a warning sign of things to come. Boy, there was a lot of warning signs, and we just kept saying like, nah, they're the Chiefs, they'll figure it out in the playoffs. And like to their credit, they did for one game against the Bills, but it's not like they're off. I don't know. It was pretty clear just that as we bounce around and watching this game and how it went, that it wasn't great. Joe Thuney playing left tackle, I don't remember it being this bad. It was rough for Thuney out there. Yeah, and like I get it. Stepping in, going up against a very good pass rush, understandably why he struggled. Like it's not, I'm not trying to say that he did bad given the situation. I just don't remember this game. We're talking about how Thuney did after this. We're talking about how Tooney did in that Texans game. Like we're looking at how he did going into the Super Bowl, thinking about it from that lens, at how he did in all these games at tackle and how it was serviceable or better than what we have seen all year. Boy, I don't know if what we saw was a lot better than anything we've seen all year. The only thing it was better than was Kingsley against the Prodigals, which conveniently we watched earlier in the week.
Yeah.
But like it was just a rough game from the offensive line. And I don't remember it being quite that bad live.
I don't remember it being quite that bad live either. And yeah, I believe Myles Garrett may have been a little hampered in this game. It may not have been a full go all week long. And so there was a little bit of, gamesmanship there. He was not going as hard all game long. And they were obviously giving him tons of attention. I mean, they were doubling him all game long. Again, it makes all the sense in the world. I liked the game plan there. Myles Garrett still had 3 QB hits and didn't lead his team. Dalvin Tomlinson on the inside had 5. Dalvin. Yeah, whatever. It's not a lab unless I do that.
I
right?
now get it. I am immediately elevated to not being the worst name pronouncer around. It's perfect.
Well, anyway, he wrecked the interior of the Chiefs' offensive line. And it wasn't just going up against a backup left guard. He got Trey Smith, too. Like, he was dominant all game long. The Browns had more QB hits than the Chiefs did. The Chiefs had 5 sacks, 11 QB hits. The Browns, though, had 0 sacks in this game. Patrick Mahomes did an excellent job of getting rid of the ball on time, trying to get the ball out of his hands, trying not to just stand in there and take a whole bunch of hits. A couple of them he's throwing while he's in the grasp and getting it past the line of scrimmage and avoiding some negative plays and things like this. But it added up. This was a game that at the end of it, and not because of a blowout, Carson Wentz and Dorian Thompson-Robinson were in the game. Now, Jameis, because he was terrible, Carson Wentz was in because Patrick Mahomes had been hit so many times, it was just not okay to leave him out there and continue to have him under fire in a Week 15 game. It was hard to watch a game that Patrick Mahomes led all quarterbacks with 159 yards passing. Like that's abysmal. It was not an offensive performance game, and both defensive lines lived in the backfield all game long. It was just rough to watch.
Yeah, now like the flip side, we talked a little bit. You talked a little bit earlier about the defense. Karlaftis, Chris Jones, these guys having good games. I think what stood out to me was this was another one of those games where it really stood out how physical and good at tackling the Chiefs secondary can be. The Browns didn't get like a lot going on the ground or through the air, or anything like that. But anytime they did, there was players. I mean, any player anywhere on the field for the Chiefs was coming up to make plays. They were flying upfield or downfield, however you want to look at it, making contact, bringing guys down. I believe Christian Roland Wallace had a couple tackles. Justin Reed had a big hit and another couple tackles. All the corners were getting in there. Like, we know the Chiefs are one of the better tackling defenses, especially in the secondary in the entire NFL. When they get, when they make contact. But this one really stood out to me is if the Browns were going to have success, they were going to have to manufacture a little bit. The Chiefs pass rush was getting after it. Jameis didn't look, I don't want to say, I don't think Jameis gets uncomfortable. Jameis just didn't have a good read on what was happening. And so he was constantly under pressure and everything like that. So if they were going to get something done, it was going to have to be kind of manufactured stuff. And the linebackers too, but especially the secondary, I thought was playing really physical, playing downhill really well. I was actually a little disappointed that this was, I think, about the end of Roland Wallace's attempts to play. After this, he was kind of relegated back to the bench. I believe this is the last game he played major snaps in. Shamari Connor comes back in and takes over in that role. And I was kind of surprised by that because I thought he played pretty well in this game too.
Yeah, that was also about the time that Jalen Watson was starting to come into the fold. He wasn't in yet, but trying to transition some stuff around. I will say the one play that stood out as an especially negative play from Roland Wallace was the Browns' only touchdown. It was a 62-yard run by Jerome Ford. He just took a really, really bad angle, but he played really well the rest of the time. It was a 62-yard run and then 14 targets at Jerry Jeudy, which, I mean, Jerry Jeudy last year played really well in a Browns uniform. I know we haven't seen him really play well in a Broncos uniform prior to that, but came over to the Browns, had a mindset change, went for 11 and 108 of the 164 total passing yards. It was really just, if it wasn't going to Jerry Jeudy, it wasn't going anywhere outside of that one Jerome Ford run. So, yeah, this defense was smothering all game long. They were coming up. They were making plays when the Browns did try and go downfield. They just really didn't find success. Chiefs played a lot of single high in this game, or maybe a lot more than I'm used to watching them play. You know, it was a little bit more of that just to keep another guy in the box to make sure that Nick Chubb and, you know, I guess Jerome Ford, who almost had the same number of carries as Nick Chubb, but make sure Nick Chubb didn't get going. After it hit a certain point, it was 21-0 in this game. After it hit a certain point, the Browns knew they had to throw. The Chiefs knew the Browns had to throw. And boy, when you get Spags in those situations against a quarterback that's struggling, it's over. And so they tried to play short. Chiefs tackled really well. It was really, really fun to watch a total and complete defensive performance here. I can't sit here and say, I know I shouted out George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu, you shouted out Christian Roland-Walls. We could probably go through every defender and say, wow, yeah, no, they made that play there. They did that. You know, it was just a top to bottom, terrific defensive performance by every single guy. You don't very often see that with, you know, a Spags team. You see a complete unit all the time, but the great performances usually are coming from singular individuals. You don't get to point to everybody and say, wow, you really had a great performance.
Okay, now going back negative again. We're bouncing back and forth here.
Yeah.
Who do you think led the Chiefs in carries in this game?
I know who it is. I do have the stats up right here because I was shocked at how many yards rushing the Chiefs had in this game, because I watched that game. It did not feel like this at all. Like it did not. But anyway, so Matt, tell the people. Yeah.
Well, okay. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco both had 13 carries. They went for 45 and 32 yards respectively. That's 3.5 and 2.5 yards per carry. That's terrible.
Yikes.
However, this is what I stuck out to me, and I double checked on the stats. I thought so. Kareem Hunt had 45 yards on 13 carries. He had 2 runs over 10 yards. He had like 23 yards on 2 of his carries. That means 11 carries went for 20 some yards. Pacheco had like a 10-yard run. That means 12 of his carries went for 20-ish yards. It was crazy how ineffective the Chiefs rushing game was when like everybody still does play the pass. It's not like the Browns were selling out to stop the deep ball or anything at this game. At this point in time, nobody was afraid of the Chiefs really pushing the ball downfield, but there's more than 2 yards per carry. It was crazy how ineffective this run game was in this game. And now this is where I think it stood out. Like, hey, Joe Thuney at tackle, not as good of a run blocker as he's at left guard. Mike Caliendo, really not as good of a run blocker as Joe Thuney. So like, there's reasons for it. It really stuck out in a pretty like significant way.
Yeah. They had one explosive run, and it was Xavier
Worthy
on a 21. Well, I mean, it felt like it, but yeah, Xavier Worthy on a 21-yard rush. It was just kind of a major accumulation here. Patrick Mahomes, you know, sometimes you see these 130-yard rushing games, and you look over that and you find out like Pat's got like 48 of them or something. Like, you know, it's just like those hidden scramble yards. He only had 14 yards. 14. So yeah, it really was just kind of a very grinding mindset with this. You know, it really felt like everything was hard. It wasn't Xavier Worthy. I mean, at this point, Xavier Worthy got 11 targets. Some of them were not great, but you saw some of the things that make you, I think this is about the time where we were realizing it's like, oh, his NFL play strength is a little better than we expected. He had one on the edge in the red zone that it was like a little, you know, pop pass out to him, out to the fly, a little smoke route. And corner was on him immediately, and he actually stiff arms, throws the corner to the ground, breaks the tackle, and keeps going. It's like that was never part of Xavier Worthy's game. That was one of the things that, you know, you were worried about him coming out that weight. I think that was about the time he was getting more ingrained in the offense. You were seeing his workload increase. He was taking more hits. He was popping back up. He was running through tackles. This is about the point where we started to kind of be like, oh, I think that maybe Xavier Worthy we were all excited about him, but I think maybe there's something here for the playoffs. And it did formulate in the playoffs. It was something that did translate in there. So they really kind of built him up. This was one of the first times that I remember thinking is like, oh, wow, I think he's capable of playing deep into December with a team that's going to hit him hard. And, these sorts of things that we had identified as being not his strengths, coming out in the draft.
Yeah, and I think this was also the time of the year where it was kind of realized that DeAndre Hopkins wasn't going to be a significant contributor to this offense, or the offense wasn't really going to function or run through DeAndre Hopkins in any significant way. They had to Travis Kelce had not rebounded to his previous playoff year play at this point in time. No Rashee Rice, no Hollywood Brown. This was the stretch of the year where the offense kind of became, okay, it's Xavier Worthy and nothing else. And so, he had 11 targets. He had 3 rushes. Like, they kind of built the entire game plan around him, and it was less stuff downfield and more the quick horizontal stuff. It was more getting him the ball moving towards the sideline from these reduced splits. And yeah, to your point, this is, you saw him, I don't want to say break tackles, but you saw him break contact at the very least. Yeah. Guys that would have touch him in the past would completely knock him off his track. We'd seen him go down to very light contact. He was able to get by some of that stuff in this game. And like, the stat line isn't overly impressive. 46 receiving yards on 11 targets, 30 rushing yards on 3 carries. Again, not great, but the offense as a whole, like, didn't do a whole lot. He accounted for a significant portion of the team's offense. Yeah. They were running it through him. So I thought that was a pretty big deal. Anything else on this game here real quick?
I mean, Harrison Butker missed a field goal. DeAndre Hopkins couldn't come down with a contested catch, that was right at the 5-yard line or something like that. He's fallen to the ground. He had it in his hands initially. Defender pops it up in his hands. He's not able to bring it in. The ref called it a catch initially. They challenged it on a big 3rd and 10. You put those 2 plays in this, my goodness, like, Patrick Mahomes is probably pulled at the start of the 4th quarter at that point, because it's, 31-0 at that point. So I don't know. It's one of those games that really was a dominant performance. The offense didn't play well, but yet it still felt like, boy, you have a couple plays here, and we're probably talking about this game a little bit differently. It's, okay, a couple big plays, it was over, and it was a no sweat win. Instead, it was one of those that Dorian Thompson-Robinson was driving around midfield with 4 minutes left, and the Chiefs were up 2 scores. And I remember being in the KCSN Discord and hearing people just be like, wait a minute, how is this not over yet? Why is this not over yet?
Probably me.
And probably a lot of people, Maddie. But yeah, it was one of those kind of games that you just feel like there was a lot left on the table.
All right, real quick, one last thing here. I knew he played a good game, and I talked about Trent McDuffie against Jamar Chase earlier in the week, so I didn't want to go too deep into it, but I knew he played a good game in this one. I just went and looked up like the Pro Football Focus stat line for Trent McDuffie in this game. Whoo, buddy. Okay, 10 targets. It's a lot. 5 catches. That's actually a decent amount of catches for 8 total yards. Oh, by the way.
Are you kidding me?
By the way, he also forced 2 incompletions. Those were both pass breakups, had an interception, and an NFL passer rating against when targeted of 16.7. Oh, and had 2 run stops, which means like essentially 2 tackles in the run game for less than whatever yards would be a successful play. That might be one of the most insane box scores of all time for a cornerback.
That is crazy. I mean, and again, take the PFF charting stats for what you will, but like. Sure. There's only so much that they're missing there. It's not like they're missing 3 downfield plays to Jerry Jeudy that they're just missing there. Like, that is unreal. My goodness.
He had a tackle on a Jerome Ford, I'm assuming screen or swing pass for -6, and a tackle against Elijah Moore for -3, which I would assume would be a screen pass. It was crazy. It's a crazy stat line there. So, hey, Trent McDuffie, have a week. Frog and the Browns. I guess he just owns the AFC North. How about it? All right. I think it is time for us to spin the wheel of games. Let's bring on Tucker D. Franklin. The D stands for Prankster of the Year.
Oh.
I mean, that works too. I've been whoops, wrong button. I've been trying to calculate and make sure the wheel is accurate. I think it is for the most part. I'll
At
continue
this
to
point,
do.
you could just make us rewatch games again, and we probably wouldn't notice.
I should just like put random NFL games on there, like
Oh my god, that'd be great.
Jets, Broncos.
No.
Okay, hold on.
All right. You guys don't have very many games left.
No, but I don't want it to be week 18. I want to save that for a Wednesday.
No,
six games left. I'm gonna go back and do a count, and at the end of the show, you guys will know if my count is wrong, because I'll tell us that we need to spin again. But let's spin it right now.
Big spins, big spins. Give me that Saints game.
Oh, Maddie, you
Let's
suck.
go.
Week 5 versus the Saints. Also, that's a really fun box score if you go look at it. I don't know if you saw the short that was going around from that football show last week, but that is the game that Matt Verderame said it was a classic Sky Moore box score with 1 target, no catches.
Well, yeah.
See, I don't have to participate in this game,
True.
and therefore I don't have to have an opinion. I'm taking a quick look at this.
Quick glance, and it's going to be a pretty fun one to watch.
Yeah.
That's a juju game.
Got an offensive play. It's a juju. It's also a Rashid Shaheed gets hurt game.
Monster juju game. A monster Kareem game too.
Didn't Derek Carr get hurt in that game too?
Yeah, Derek Carr's always hurt, but yes.
Derek Carr's always hurt. And yet another game that if you look at it, fourth quarter, this game is entirely too close against a terrible football team.
Yeah, I love to see how it plays out when watching it. Like, where did those things come up?
I will say though, if you remember correctly, this New Orleans Saints team started off incredibly hot the first 2 weeks of the season, and everyone thought, "Wait a second, is this team actually good?" Turns out the Cowboys and the Panthers were both really bad. They were both really bad.
Yeah.
That's right. No. This game was like cruising to be a Dunzo burger, and then we got the Colin pick that set up like a comeback, but like it made it interesting. That's what happened down the stretch.
I can't even be mad at that. That was such a cool moment, and it's Colin. Like, yeah, it's fine.
I remember the play being so dumb, like how Colin got the ball. I was just like, what?
Yeah, he said, "Oh, I know that Andy's gonna run some BS down here. Let me just be ready."
Listen, I've been on that other side of the ball with an Andy Reid red zone package. I know what's coming.
That's on deck for Monday. That'll be Kent and I going back through the Saints game. What week was that game?
Week 5.
Week
Very
5
early.
Saints game coming up on Monday. But here today for the rest of the laboratory, Craig and I are going to rank our top 10 tight ends right after this little break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Welcome back to the KC Laboratory. It's time to get real. It's time to get serious. Last week, I dunked on Craig and our defensive end rankings where I was correct and he was not. On Monday.
Hold on. Like 95% of them were identical.
we were very similar. Oddly, Kent and I were more similar. Like we had the exact same names. We had them all broken up into the exact same tiers, and like just a couple guys within those tiers shifted out. So like, listen, right now we spend too much time talking football, I guess.
I will say I have seen your bottom five back when we were, doing pre-show. The wide shot, I was able to see Maddie's bottom five. We have differences, sir. We have a lot of differences. So this one will be a little salty. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I listen. I thought my tight end rankings are a little bit more off the wall compared to the quarterbacks and the defensive end rankings. So we're gonna see how it goes. So here we go. How this plays out. If you were not here for our other ones, we are going to go 10-1. We're going to go back and forth. We kind of have it broken up into tiers a little bit. So Craig is going to give me his 10 through whatever of what his lowest tier of tight ends are. I don't know them. He knows mine because you got to see some of them, but he doesn't know. So let's talk about it, Craig. Who do you got?
Okay. My bottom tier. I got three guys in my bottom tier of this top 10 here. Not my ultimate bottom tier here, but three guys in the bottom of my top 10. I have Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely coming in at the number 10 spot here.
I like it.
I have Minnesota Vikings tight end TJ Hawkinson at number 9, and I have Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert at number 8. So
at number
those are my bottom three right now. Yes.
Interesting. Okay. So we only have one of the same guy. Well, actually, we have no same guys in our bottom tier. I have 4 tiers this week. We have nobody in our same bottom tier. I do have one of those guys somewhere in my list.
I have 4.
You have 4 as well. Perfect. Okay. I only have 2 guys in my bottom tier here. So I'm going to read mine, then we'll talk about it a little bit. One of my changes, I just bumped Dallas Goedert out. So Dallas Goedert would be 11 for me. I just bumped him out actually of mine. For my number 10, I'm going to go with him second. My number 9 is Mark Andrews, the other Ravens tight end. I stuck him in at 9. I was waffling on him because, like, when I watch them, I don't think Mark Andrews does a lot that, like, entices me, but he just ends up being productive. He knows where to find soft spots and zones. He can be a red zone target as long as it's not a high leverage playoff game, and then he will undoubtedly drop it or fumble it. But every other situation, he is very good. So, like, he's still got a spot in my list because of that. This is my number 10. This is my biggest surprise. Actually, this might even be my biggest surprise. This is one of my biggest surprises, and I am going way out on a limb, but I got some precedent for it. Colston Loveland hasn't played a snap in the NFL.
I am putting top 10 already.
At 10. Now, in the past, I wouldn't because tight ends take time to adapt to the NFL. They need time. But look what's happened recently. Offenses are better at spreading the ball out, getting athletes in space, creating easy plays for them if they are athletic enough. Loveland's athletic enough. Look at who his play caller is. What does play caller do with a lesser tight end as a rookie? And Sam Laporta had a fantastic year. There's a little bit of a shot call here. This could look really silly because he might not even start for his own team because Cole Kmet's there. But I think that Colston Loveland has that type of talent. I think he's actually in a situation that it makes a lot of sense as long as he can get on the field and hopefully outperform Cole Kmet, who I know they had attitude issues with. So yeah, this is a big shot call though.
Yeah, that is a big shot call. I am shocked. Not that.
That was my last second change.
But yeah, that was your last second change. And so you had Mark Andrews coming up. I also have him in my top 10. Just hear the future a little bit. So I want to talk a little bit about TJ Hawkinson. I think people saw the way that Isaiah Likely played, and they're like, yeah, I get how he's like fringe on people's lists, things like that. Yeah. I completely understand that. TJ Hawkinson is a guy that when you watched him last year, he had no chemistry with Sam Darnold, none whatsoever. And it would be him finding gaps, him finding areas in the middle of the field that were wide open. And Sam Darnold is throwing the ball behind him. There's a game, where he's wide open in the end zone. He breaks a linebacker off. He's wide open and running across the middle of the end zone. Sam Darnold tries to throw it through his chest, essentially. He put a little touch on it, Sam. Put a little touch on it, and instead doesn't clear a linebacker that's a hook defender there and throws an interception. They just were never on the same page. I'm going back a year before, and I am seeing the way that TJ Hawkinson was utilized. He played in 15 games. He had over 120 targets. He's now coming into a situation with a guy that, for all intents and purposes, is a rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy. What do rookie quarterbacks like? They like guys that are going to be in the right spot. They're going to find seams in the zone. It's going to make reads really easy for a rookie quarterback, not somebody like Sam Darnold, who is just going to try and rocket everything in all the time. I think that we see a giant uptick in TJ Hawkins. I am buying it, despite him the fact, he had 0 touchdowns last year and had one of his worst statistical years, but I'm just buying it. I saw what he did 2 years ago. I know what he can do, again. This really just felt like a disconnect between quarterback and tight end that I expect is going to be helped with a rookie quarterback there.
And listen, JJ McCarthy, last year he got to play. He was with Colston Loveland in college, and they put up enough numbers that got JJ McCarthy drafted really early, and it would have had Colston Loveland drafted really early if he could have come out after that season, like even earlier than he'd get drafted. So loves that tight end. I've seen, the Loveland one's surprising. I saw some people in the chat mention it. So I'm just going to say like one last thing, and we're going to see it as we go through my list. I think tight end's an interesting position. Like there's guys that can just block. There's guys that are going to be solid and just provide you very stable, adequate play. And like how you want to value guys with upside that can make plays is different than how you're going to value guys that can just do that steady, consistent thing. And everyone's going to be a little different. I would say me for tight ends, I'm going to skew towards guys that I think actually impact what a defense does. And so I'm not saying that rookie Colston Loveland is there, but you can see by the end of the year how a defensive coordinator might be like staying up a little extra late, being like, how do I stop that guy? Because he has that kind of ability. So you're going to see as I keep going through my list, I got to keep that in mind. I think about it from a defense having to stop them standpoint. Dalton Schultz isn't making my list because not a single defensive coordinator ever has tried to figure out how to stop Dalton Schultz. Very good football player, but nobody has ever considered how they stop Dalton Schultz or Jake Ferguson. They just that doesn't matter.
Right.
So I'm going to skew away from guys like that. So let's hear your next tier.
Okay. My next tier is 3 guys here. Once again, I've got it number 7, Bills tight end Dalton Kincaid.
Oh, okay.
I've got it number 6, George Kittle, and number 5 is Mark Andrews. So
okay, so
that's my
Andrews
next tier.
way up there.
I
Okay,
do.
you know what? Before I go into mine, because you don't have my next 2 guys, and it's a wild tier. Let's hear you. I want to hear your case for why George Kittle is number 6, which I think is going to be kind of low for a few people here.
I'm projecting the future here. This is me looking into 2025. George Kittle is getting more and more hurt. George Kittle's a good football player when he's on the field. I just think when we're at the end of the season, we're going to once again look back at this, and there's going to be people that are going to go, man, those 6 games that George Kittle was on the field, it was incredible. It's going to be 6 games. He's wearing out so much. It's the style of football he plays. It's the way that he plays. It's why people love him as much as they do. I just think that he's not going to be able to put together a full season again. There's going to be a lot of what ifs. I am projecting injury essentially with George Kittle here, which is a fairly safe bet based on how he's been lately. So yeah, that's my number 6. And then Mark Andrews ahead of Isaiah Likely is simply because as the year went along, Mark Andrews was out snapping him. Mark Andrews was getting more targets. Mark Andrews was the guy that was a little more featured. And when push comes to shove, Lamar is going to revert to targeting Mark Andrews. He just, like all the things you said, he's going to get open. He's going to be in the right spots. Lamar's going to find him. That's really what this is all about. I just project that it's going to be a full season of that versus, kind of the slower start that we saw last year.
That's completely fair with Andrews. I think he got it going a little bit later in the year, and maybe he picks up there, maybe starts slow. I'm fully on board with all that. I had Isaiah Likely not in my top 10. I just want to get that there. He's not coming in my top 10. I get it. It's just he's a little too inconsistent for me right now. And it's going to be funny here in a second, but he's a little too inconsistent for me as of right now. And so I had to talk about Kincaid because Kincaid's also not in my top 10. I think you talked about like you can watch Isaiah Likely and see why people would like him. And like all these guys you watching, so like I feel like Kincaid's got his stock as low as it's ever been based on how he played last year and the fact that all of his worst traits coming out of Utah, you have seen in the NFL. And yeah, you've seen some small flashes of the positives, but I don't think it's fully ever been unleashed at this point. I'd actually say so far, a lot of people would say he's been disappointing given the hype that he had. So what has you still holding on to Dalton Kincaid?
Who's Josh Allen throwing the ball to? That's kind of where it comes to. I mean, it's more of this offense is going to be good. I feel good about where, that Josh Allen is going to be thrown at. Keon Coleman is going to be a little bit inconsistent. They've got Josh Palmer. They've got Khalil Shakir. I like Khalil Shakir, but they need somebody reliable. And while people like Dawson Knox a lot, I've always been a bigger fan of Dalton Kincaid for some of the same reasons that you're talking about there. He's a move tight end. He creates matchup nightmares. Like you don't want him matched up against guys. I don't want him against Nick Bolton. It's going to be bad. Like I'm not going to enjoy how that matchup is going to go. So I just think it's more of a projection of not having a bunch of targets that Josh Allen is going to throw a bunch of balls to the outside. Now all of a sudden it's going to be more of a spread the ball around. If they're spreading the ball around, they're going to go with a hot hand. A little bit of projection for Kincaid, having a good set of matchups, and Josh Allen kind of falling in love with throwing to his tight end again.
Okay. No, I think that is like the right way to spin it if you still want to have like the hope for Dalton Kincaid, right? Like that's the right way to look at it because there's still upside there. He's not quite as young as I think some other like second year, third year, I guess, tight ends now because he did spend a little bit extra time in college, but still newer to the NFL. He's battled injuries numerous times, a lot of knee injuries, I actually believe at this point. So maybe he has a fully healthy year and finally gets it. All right, I've been teasing. I got to get to my next tier here. This is called the What Is Happening, but there's a lot of athleticism going on here.
Okay.
I have another 2-person tier, so I'm a little behind you. I have 8 David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns, and I have at number 7 Tucker Kraft, tight end, Green Bay Packers. Okay. I flipped those. I got Kraft at 8. I got Kraft at 8, and Njoku at 7. I flipped those.
Okay. Kraft was just outside of my top 10. I was excited a little bit about Kraft. David Njoku never came to my mind. Oh, man. Not even once did I consider David in my list.
I can't quit David Njoku. I can't. He's got. Here's the thing. So explain it. I think for both these guys, both of them are kind of similar. Actually, they're both at their best with the ball in their hands, kind of creating yak. Right. And it's not like they're not like prime Travis Kelce in terms of the creating yak, but if they catch the ball in space, both are very much threats to either outrun a slower defender or break a tackle from a smaller one. Tucker Kraft actually might be the best like yards after catch tight end in the NFL right now. Like the way he trucks guys. And once he gets going downhill, he's really difficult to take out. So like as of right now, I wouldn't say either of them are super clean and technical with their routes. And Njoku's probably never going to get there, but he can run a seam. He can go up and high point the ball in certain situations, even if it's not the most consistent. And Kraft is young enough that I think those traits could still come. But I'm mostly just banking on they're both freakishly athletic for tight ends in the NFL right now. Sure. They are mismatches just being on the field. And if I can get them the ball in the open field, they're going to make plays. Neither one of them are bad blockers. Actually, Njoku, for a guy coming out of Miami that couldn't block to save his life, he's actually become quite a decent blocker. He's
pretty good.
Kraft throws his body around like he's not afraid of contact. I don't know if he's a great blocker, but he's not afraid of contact. So again, going back to my idea of, hey, if I'm Steve Spagnuolo and we're going up against a team and like, hey, I see that they have Tucker Kraft or David Njoku, I might actually have to think about what we're going to do to contain them a little bit. Cause I think either one of these guys could have 5 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown on you and a couple big explosive plays. And like that to me matters. And they're never going to be like a weakness. So it's a little upside. Sure. It's a little athleticism, but like I'm on board with both of them.
Yeah. And I'm not going to argue too much other than saying, probably part of the reason I never considered David Njoku is because nobody's going to be throwing him the ball. Like that quarterback room is horrendous.
Well, hold on. If I'm not mistaken, when Flacco was his quarterback 2 years ago, he went on a tear and was like the best statistical tight end.
Okay. If the Cleveland Browns are planning to play Joe Flacco for a significant amount of time this year over two rookies when they have literally nothing to play for, a dead weight on their cap. I mean, like, what are you doing? If Joe Flacco
I'm just saying,
is actually
91 and
playing
2
a lot,
touchdowns, 104 to touchdown, 44 to touchdown, 134. I'm just saying, this man when he has a quarterback.
I get it. Maybe it's just a difference of I don't want to see Joe Flacco play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns again. Like I don't want to see anybody in that quarterback room play. But like, yeah,
Gabriel.
maybe that's why I'm not high on David Njoku here. Okay.
I'm gonna do my next tier because I'm a couple behind you because I've only had 2 players per tier. So this is my second tier, and I got 3 guys here. I got Sam Laporta, previously mentioned, as in Ben Johnson got him a lot of stuff. I got Sam Laporta at number 6. I got TJ Hawkinson at number 5. So I was letting you talk about him, but I had him way up there because you kind of framed it very well. You go back to that previous year in Minnesota. I mean, he was pacing to be in the conversation for the best tight end in the league. And then he came back last year and was injured for the start of it. Like, he still wasn't healthy. So you got to remember, anything he did last year was just coming back from, I believe he tore his ACL, if I'm not mistaken, or had a pretty significant knee injury towards the end of the 2023 season. It took him a while to find his footing. He actually had a strong performance in the playoff loss that they had to the Rams. So I think Hawkinson does everything. Good athlete, very reliable over the middle of the field, blocks well. Like, he just checks all the boxes, and maybe he's not spectacular any of them, but he's very good across the board. So I really like Hawkinson. And then number 4 is a dagger to my own heart, Travis Kelce. I put him at 4. I put him in the second tier. I put him at the top of the second tier, and I honestly don't know how great I feel about putting him ahead of these 2 younger guys. Because yeah, I don't know. I'll let you go. Then we can do the Kelce. Well, we got a lot of Kelce talk coming up. I got Kelce at 4. I got him in the second tier. I put him ahead of 2 guys that I think clearly have the upside to have a lot stronger season than he does, but the floor is a little bit lower.
That's fair. So my third tier, the second from the top here, my number 4 is Travis Kelce.
Okay, right on the money.
So yeah, we're kind of on the money there. We'll get into Travis after this ranking. We got an entire section. We'll get into that. We're fine. Travis is fine, but comes in at number 4 for me, just ahead of Mark Andrews. And then number 3 for me is Trey McBride, Arizona Cardinals tight end. Trey McBride. Maddie, I don't know if he's in your top 2 there, so I don't want to take too many talking points, but I mean, he was outrageous last year. I know that the Arizona Cardinals didn't get a ton of time. There was a lot of hand-wringing about the fact that, Marvin Harrison Jr. was not the superstar, and so that's what everybody focused on. And Kyler Murray, playing video games and everything like that. All Trey McBride did was show up and go for over 1,100 yards receiving in an offense that, frankly, everybody was just running down. He's just going to get better, and it has gotten better every single year. Again, you're talking about a matchup guy I don't want to see that my safeties and linebackers have to cover. Trey McBride is turning into that. And so I'm projecting that this is going to be yet another escalation of last year, and he's going to be a top 3 tight end this year.
Ooh, spicy. Okay. I have 3 names left for my top tier. So I'm not going to comment because Trey McBride's in my top tier. All right. Number 3, Brock Bowers. As a rookie, coming in at number 3 in my top tier tight ends. Number 2, George Kittle. And number 1, Trey McBride. I even went number 1 with McBride. Let me break down, I guess, we talked about Kittle already. So let me go back. Let me talk to Kittle. You're a little worried about his health. It took me by surprise. It's been 5 years since he's played less than 14 games in a season. Now, he plays banged up a lot, and it does impact some of what he can do. But he does go out there and play. He's still putting stats up. I do think eventually the wheels are going to fall off of Kittle for his physical style of play and everything. But I don't know. Right now, he's still producing, right? Right now, he's still doing it. He's still going out there, and he doesn't quite have the same athleticism that Travis Kelce had at his peak. You can see my whole list now at his peak or anything like that. Right. But he's still got, oh no, you can't see it all. He's still got enough juice. He's a very good blocker, arguably the best blocking tight end in all of, out of all tight ends in the NFL right now. So it's just, I think that everything that Kittle does, he brings everything to the table. Oh no, we've lost your camera, Craig. Are you still here?
I'm back.
He's back. Look
I'm
at
here.
him.
I'm
trying
good.
to fix my whiteboard so it doesn't fall on me. Your camera's going out about. We're having all sorts of technical difficulties here. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. But yeah, I got Kittle up there. I trust a little bit more in his longevity, like be able to stick it out for another season. I think he still has enough juice. I do think that Kittle is overrated in the fact that he's never been on Travis Kelce or Rob Gronkowski's level, and he always got that hype. But when we consider that Travis Kelce is actively falling off, and we're still kind of wondering if Kittle's going to fall off, I feel comfortable still putting Kittle up this high. I mean, you talked about what he still have, like 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns last
Yeah,
year.
he still had
1,000 yards and 8
1,100
touchdowns
yards.
while being a top 3 or 4 blocking tight end.
I don't know. Maybe that's an expectation of what I think that offense is going to be too. On top
Fair.
of the fact that yes, he's playing hurt. Losing the guys that they have, losing Debo, you lost another one of your middle of the field guys that can kind of put some punishment on guys. I think that George Kittle is going to have a good year when he's fully healthy. And so I don't know. I'm just a little lower on George Kittle. I got no real explanation for it other than that, buddy.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, I'm gonna do Trey McBride because I'm assuming you have Brock Bowers a little higher than I do, so I'm gonna save him.
I do.
I want to do Trey McBride next, and the reason I really quick, I was trying to look up one thing. Okay, so Trey McBride, I think he does everything you want out of a tight end. The only thing he hasn't done is get into the end zone, right? Like he hasn't been great. I don't think Kyler Murray is a very good red zone quarterback, though. I think that's really the issue. Where do tight ends score most of their touchdowns? In the red zone. And I don't think that Kyler Murray's particularly good at that. Well, because he can't see over the line of scrimmage and throw to the middle of the field, right? Trey McBride, as good as he is, he's still a 6'3", 6'4" tight end. Yeah, that's big, but like, is that jump ball fade to the back pylon? He's not 6'6" Gronk. He's not 6'7" Jimmy. You know what I mean? So I think that's more of the circumstance that he's in. But if I watch them play, like their entire offense functions around what they can do with Trey McBride. He gives a ton of like earlier career Travis Kelce, where it's a lot of short stuff. There's like this just natural feel at the top of his breaks for how to get in and out of them, catch the ball, quickly turn up field, create some extra yards. So I think Trey McBride is just like steady improving to the point to where he's going to be tight end one for now, but he does have some guys closing in tight on him.
Yeah, no, and I felt like I was maybe a little high on Trey McBride, so I'm glad to see you, dropping him in at number 1 there. I think that this is going to be kind of the pivot year. And again, to your point, a different quarterback that's a little better in the red zone. And Trey McBride, this isn't even a controversial topic because he's open. He's wide open all the time. He's such an efficient and really top tier player here. Okay. Do you want me to dive into my top 2 here? My final tier.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. I was confused who you did. I guess I know your top 2, but I'm a little surprised by one of them.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't actually.
Yeah. It's a guy that you have a little lower than me. So my number 2 is Brock Bowers, and my number 1 is Sam Laporta. I am incredibly high on Sam Laporta this season. I realize that Ben Johnson is leaving. That offense is probably going to take a bit of a step back. It's not going to be quite as creative. However, Sam Laporta's tight end coach is the new offensive coordinator over there. They are planning to give him plenty of volume again. That offensive coordinator, their new offensive coordinator, former tight ends coach, helped build a lot of what Ben Johnson did 2 years ago when Sam Laporta got a ton of volume. Laporta was a little bit banged up at the beginning of the year, came into his own here. I know that people are going to look at the raw stats there and be like, it's not that good, but he improved his yards per catch, his yards per target, his catch rate, his touchdown rate, his yak per reception, all of these metrics that, like, when you think of good tight ends, you think of them turning a little into a lot. Sam Laporta got better at that last year. It just didn't have the same volume. He didn't have the same counting stats that he had the year before because the offense was a little more designed to get the ball to these running backs, electric running backs in space, get the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who can blame an offense for architecting
Jameson Williams played. And like
Jameson Williams also played. Yes, that was a major part of that as well. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot more too high. We're going to see a lot of defense that are specifically orchestrated to try and take things away from Amon-Ra St. Brown, take it away from Jameson Williams, and we are going to see Sam Laporta look a little bit neglected by defenses here, and we're going to see some of that volume creep back up. I'm expecting his efficiency from last year paired with a little more volume. Now, all of a sudden, we're looking at a guy that is the top tight end in the league there, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's all fair. I probably was buying in a little bit. I thought a little bit more of his production this past season was coming off of even more Ben Johnson play action shenaniganery that is just the air raid of the NFL. Like it felt like as a rookie, it felt a little bit more real. And this last one felt not gimmicky, but just a lot more like, hey, someone's going to be wide open because of this offensive structure. And so I didn't dock him, but I didn't credit him for that. And of guys on my list, he's probably like the worst blocker of the group. And I do think that mattered a little bit for me. Yeah. So I had to keep him down a little bit lower, but he's still very good. I mean, he's still right there in my second tier. I just have pretty big top tiers. So that means Brock Bowers is 3 for you, 2 for me.
Brock Bowers is two for me.
2 for you, 3 for me.
Yeah.
Really, my only knock on Brock Bowers and the reason he's 3 compared to the other two guys, the same thing as Laporta, the blocking isn't the same as everybody else right now.
Sure.
His receiving is just as good. He's arguably better. He did everything you could ask for. I honestly kind of feel bad for putting him at 3. It's just at the end of the day, right? Like, I think that offense had to funnel him 1 billion targets to function. Yes. So it wasn't always the most efficient use, most efficient offense, but it was still incredible. I think he'll only get better. It's just, the blocking is the only thing that stopped him from competing, I think, with Kittle and McBride.
I genuinely almost put him at 1. And the reason that I didn't put him at 1, even projecting for next year, is just he's only got 1 season under his belt. Can I really put a tight end at number 1? I mean, that's calling my shot if I put him at number 1. I think that this may have been his floor last year. Like, I think he's only going to get better. And Geno Smith at quarterback moves the needle a lot more for him. Like, that offense is going to be a lot more functional than it was last year. Now, it may mean he doesn't get 153 targets anymore, but it may make him a little bit more efficient there. I really did almost put him at number 1. He's just, he came in the league that good. I'm not going to be surprised if we're standing around here at the end of the year just going, well, damn it, there it was. I should have put him at number 1. He's the best tight end in the league. So
Yeah. And so, like, I think, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because we're going to talk Kelce still as we're already in an hour. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk Kelce in a second, but changes. That's the big thing to me is Bowers jumping up to 1 seems very plausible, right? Like, that's a big change that I think could come in. Laporta, I mean, you already have him up high, but Laporta has a pretty big gap for us, so he can bounce around. And then, like, finally, we talked about it. Hockenson was injured, right? So, like, I could see him kind of as Kelce and Kittle both age, if they both start to show even more signs of where Hockenson can play like he did in 2023 again, that leaves a good chunk of space for him to move up both of our boards, I think, here a little bit. So, like, those are the guys that I could really see moving around here.
Yeah, I think I'm just waiting for George Kittle to have a fully healthy year where he's absolutely incredible and is the unanimous top tight end overall for me, putting him at number 6, projecting that he's not going to come out there. That's what's going to happen, guys.
All right. My 10 through 1, Colston Loveland, Mark Andrews, Tucker Kraft, David Njoku, Sam Laporta, TJ Hockenson, Travis Kelce coming in at 4, Brock Bowers at 3, George Kittle at 2, and Trey McBride at number 1. Let's get a quick rundown of yours, and then we'll talk Kelce.
Mine, number 10, Isaiah Likely. Number 9, TJ Hockenson. Number 8, Dallas Goedert. Number 7, Dalton Kincaid. Number 6, George Kittle. Number 5, Mark Andrews. Number 4, Travis Kelce. Number 3, Trey McBride. Number 2, Brock Bowers. And number 1, Sam Laporta. We had one player in the same spot on our entire list, and it was Travis Kelce. Maddie, let's get into it.
Yeah. And I honestly, like I said when he did it, I probably put him up a little high because the guys below him are younger and still ascending. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that Travis Kelce is no longer ascending as a football player. And I don't know if there was a huge gap in what we got from Hockenson 2 years ago to Travis Kelce last year, from what we got from Sam Laporta his first 2 years in the league to what we got from Kelce last year. So I felt like I even relied a little bit on homerism bias and the fact that I know in a big situation, Travis Kelce is still kind of that guy. I know it didn't always show up last year in the way we wanted it to, but I think in those biggest moments, he's still going to be an excellent player that can get open, that knows what his quarterback's doing, that knows where soft spots and zones are. And like, he knows it better than anybody else in this list. He's still the smartest tight end in the NFL, bar none, understands coverages, knows how to adjust everything. So while the physical ability might be falling off, the mental ability is still there. And I think that was still very much worthy of a spot in the top half of this top 10.
Yeah, I fully agree with all of that. I think maybe where I'm sitting with Travis Kelce at number 4, last year, he felt like a guy that came in and tried to do things exactly the way that he had for the past 3 years. I'm not going to say his entire career. I'm going to say for the past 3 years. Seemed like a guy who just went, oh, I can still move the way that I have the past few years. I can still do the things that I was able to do the past few years. And he couldn't. And so we saw a lot of times where he was trying to make guys miss an open field. That little, the dream shake, I think is what, they call it, where he's just trying to shimmy guys off of it. It wasn't working. It just, none of his go-to stuff other than finding the soft spots in the zone, being on the same page with Patrick Mahomes, all of that stuff, all of that was still working. But the rest of it, the stuff after the catch, the stuff that has made Travis Kelce so special for so long was gone. And it was because he was trying to be something that he wasn't. His body, his 35, almost 36-year-old body was just unable to do. You listen to him coming in this year, he sounds like a guy who knows it and knows that he's not moving the same way, knows that he's having to adjust his game, knows that he's not able to rely on some of those elements anymore. And I think what we're going to say, to go with your point that he's the smartest tight end in the NFL, we're going to see him modify his game a little bit this year. I think we're taking out a lot of the yak. We're going to see a lot more calculated decisions by him to maximize yardage without trying to shake guys, trying to run through guys, trying to make guys miss. Knowing, as we saw in this Browns game, I thought it was very interesting. There's a couple of plays that normal Travis Kelce would make a guy miss, get some yak, turn a 4-yard pass into a 15-yard pass. Instead, this, again, late in the year became catch, realize a guy's in front of him, he's putting his head down because I got to get the first down. I'm going to take this 4-yard catch on a 3rd and 6, and I'm going to get 6. I'm going to make sure that I get 6. It was better. It seemed like he was playing more within his physical abilities towards the end of the year, whereas at the beginning of the year, he was just trying a lot of stuff that he just wasn't capable of anymore. Again, understandable. He's 36 now. I fully project that he's going to try to modify his game to fit what his body is this year. And what we saw last year was him trying to play with something that he just didn't have in his bag anymore.
Well, and like he said all the right stuff this offseason, right? Coming in a little bit lighter this year. This offseason, he had said, I think recently in an interview that I saw, that he had past off seasons, he had focused an off season about building his brand or getting his life set for post football, which made a lot of sense for him. And then this year, though, essentially kind of saying, hey, I know this is my last year. Let me go in entirely focused on football this year. So I don't mean to say that as was a negative for him to have his offseason that way. It's his offseason. Like, come on, do your thing. But it seems like he's a little bit more focused and locked in this year. It seems like he doesn't think that he was good enough last year, and that's fine. And so I go and look at what he might do and like where he might be able to rebound. You nailed it. Quit putting him in situations where he's running an option route where he does have to run this little juke route and make somebody, completely fooled and break them off of the route. Maybe we don't give him the ball 3 yards away off the line of scrimmage and make him have to beat a linebacker and a closing safety in the open field, knowing full well that he can't do that. Maybe we don't give him 130 targets. Just a thought, right? And I know guys got hurt last year and they had to, let's lower that down. Let's use him as the zone beating, only as a mismatch guy. The offense can't be, this is the Travis Kelce play. This is the Travis Kelce makes his play work. Travis Kelce is no longer the straw that stirs the drink. Let him be an ancillary piece to everything else going on. Hey, guess what? Like nearly every other tight end we just talked about, because nobody has been at his level since essentially Rob Gronkowski. So he doesn't have to do everything. And the Chiefs still felt like they were asking him to do everything for much of last year. It felt like he was trying to do everything. Don't have him do that again and let his role be narrowed, but maybe he'll play better in that role. Don't ask him to catch a 5-yard pass and turn it into 10. Maybe we just run an 8-yard route instead. Like, let's meet in the middle because he ain't getting those extra 5 yards anymore.
Right. And again, you saw him realize that last year. It wasn't that anymore. He wasn't trying to do that. And Sophia brings it up right here. Again, the NBA analogy. Travis was supposed to be the third option picking on shifted and slanted defense. That's absolutely what last year was
He
supposed
needs
to be.
to be. I don't know if he was supposed to be. The way they even started the year.
I think they were going to funnel a ton of targets through Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice last year. I think I think 133 targets was not in the game plan. That was not what was planned, especially since the year before when they arguably needed him more with the weapons they had. He had 121. So I look at this. I think that we're going to see closer to 100 targets, which is still a lot of volume for Travis Kelce, but there'll be smarter targets. He's not going to be the one that has to carry it. Let Rashee Rice wear all these hits. Let him take all of this punishment. I mean, he plays a style of game as a young man that's perfectly capable of taking all of those bruising hits. You have Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy that can stretch the field a little bit, that show the ability to run different routes. I think you're going to see defenses either decide, hey, we're going to take away Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice underneath, or we're going to take away guys over the top in Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. I think this is just a much better setup for Travis Kelce. I think he's going to get more targets than Xavier Worthy. Not a think to it. Definitely going to get more targets than Xavier Worthy, but Xavier Worthy is going to stretch a defense, is going to require so much more focus on the defense, which opens things up for Travis. I just think that this is a completely different look that Travis has not had since year one of his career is healthy, year two of his career is healthy. He hasn't been in the scenario where he hasn't been one of the main person taking on the full burden of the offense. I don't think he's going to be asked to be the full burden of the offense this year.
Yeah, and I think the overall setup's better. Like, if everyone's healthy and stuff, you have guys stretching the field. You have two players working over the middle of the field, taking space. So your Rashee Rice and Kelce are creating your horizontal stretch. Worthy and Hollywood Brown give you vertical. They also do give you horizontal because they run across. So, like, yeah, I think it's going to be a better scenario for him. It's up to Andy and the Chiefs to make sure they use him in that way too. And I think we got glimpses of that. And we talked about it a lot. The Falcons game, it looked like it was very much, this is Rashee Rice's game plan. This is Rashee Rice funneling these significant plays, not Travis Kelce. Kelce is catching stuff when those aren't working rather than the other way around. Right. And so more of that, have everyone be healthy. I think you could see Kelce talking about the rankings, I don't know if I can see him getting back into that tier 1 spot because, again, I'm talking about this from like changing what defenses do. I don't think Kelce has that juice. I just don't think there is that threat that he has anymore. But if he wants to maintain where I think we both have him in our second tier, like our second best tier. If he wants to maintain that play throughout the season, if that's where he wants to end the year, I do think his role has to be narrowed and he has to not be the number 1 option. He has to be the number 2, the number 3 option for this team.
Yeah. And, like you were saying, potential changes, for this year. I don't think he goes up. Like, I don't think we're talking about a guy that's the number 1 tight end in the NFL anymore. But like we've been saying for the past few weeks here, he is a guy that we expect greater efficiency from this season. And if you are able to keep him off the field a little bit more because your entire offense doesn't have to funnel through him while you're trying to bring a rookie wide receiver up to speed after your top 2 wide receivers go down hurt and you don't even have Juju Smith-Schuster yet, maybe your tight end looks a little bit better by the end of the year and isn't so exhausted and tired and all of this. So I think we see a better version of Travis Kelce this year. The raw stats, the counting stats are probably going to be roughly, yardage-wise, roughly around what he was last year. I'm expecting more touchdowns, but I think we look back on the 2025 version of Travis Kelce at the end of this year, and we're like, damn it, I'm really glad we had that guy as our number 3 option, like a very effective guy to have as your third pass catcher that you're relying on.
Yeah, no, I think that's the hope. That's the high end. We don't got to spend too much time. I don't want to spend actually any time on this. The low end is it's just gone. It's just cooked physically.
Right.
And
Yeah, I don't
It's
want to
just
spend
not
any
there.
time on that.
And we're watching, Jason Witten, not with the Raiders, but like his last season with the Cowboys. Like that's what we're watching.
Yikes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, at least he's gotten better at his blocking, right? Like not always, but like he's put more effort into his blocking as he's been a less impactful receiver. So we got that going.
I'm gonna ask, put a percentage on this right now. Percentage chance the bottom just completely falls out.
12%.
Okay. I was going to say like below 15%. I don't think it's very likely. I think that's where I'm trying to get there. Like there just seems to be a lot of negativity around Travis Kelce this year. And again, I'm not trying to question what anybody feels, how anybody feels about the man or anything like that. But I think if you push them to where does it, how likely is it that he's just going to be utterly terrible this year? Like end of career Jason Witten, I don't think you have anybody that's sitting there going, yeah, I think there's a high likelihood of that. I think it's just more likely that it just is a slow decline versus the bottom just completely drops
I
out.
think we saw the big significant drop, and it was just his movement ability from 2023 to last year, right? And if he gets even maintains, I don't see another significant drop coming, especially because I think if he felt it coming, I don't think he would be back. I think he would say,
agree.
"Oh, I don't have it anymore. I got to be done." He thinks he still has it in him, so like that's enough to at least let me say, "Hey, we're getting at least what we got last year," which. I mean, listen, I've gone back and watched enough games. It's not great, some of it, right? And I don't mean that he's unplayable as a tight end. I still have him ranked as my fourth best tight end. It's just entirely different than what it used to be, right? It's entirely different than what it was 2 years ago. So I don't think the bottom completely falls out. I also don't know if you get a resurgence back to what he was in the playoffs of 2023 or by nowhere close to what you got in 2022 where he was tearing the league apart, right? It's just, I don't think that's coming either. That's probably below 12%, honestly, but I don't think the bottom falls out either. So there we have it. That's ranking the tight ends. That's a lot of Travis Kelce talk over an hour. Look at us go. We were going to do two positions. How about that?
And now we're diving into corners. Let's go.
Okay. Next Wednesday is cornerbacks. Craig has chosen. There it is. All right. So that'll do it for the KC Laboratory. If you want to sign up for the KCSN annual golf tournament, you need to go to givebutter.com/KCSN golf. That's right. You can sign up there and that's going to do it for us. We'll be back on Monday. Well, I'll be back on Monday with Kent. Kent is avoiding Craig like the plague, and we will be back next week. Catch you guys then.
Just going to be tier 1 CBAT guys. 10 tier 1